Hey guys, I'm Dr. Tammy. Welcome to tonight's live. I am so excited. It's like, I am so excited that you guys are here. And tonight we are doing the Advent, the 25 days of Christmas, and we're relating each one of the 25 days to symptoms of menopause because a lot of people think that menopause is just hot flashes. And they think just because they get through menopause without hot flashes, or if their hot flashes are mild, that they're fine. And so I'm trying to increase awareness that there are 25 main symptoms of menopause, and actually there's up to 60 because every process that happens after menopause due to what I call ovarian failure are due to everything that we call aging. So I always tell people everything that you associate with aging or anything that you see in the nursing home is all because we have had hormone decline. So the awareness that it's not just hot flashes, it's fatigue, it's not sleeping, it's weight gain, it's frozen shoulder, it's so many things. And it's also your gut health. So, why am I even talking about this? Because one of the main things that I see after menopause is gut problems. And what do I call gut problems? Pain, bloating, gallbladder disease, fatty liver, weight gain because your liver actually has to process your hormones. And so your metabolism slows down, just the gas, the bloating, the discomfort. And I will tell you that one of the main things that women tell me about that's on our checklist is constipation because estrogen and progesterone regulate the gut motility. And I always tell people, get some magnesium. So if you are just in and out on this video and you're like, okay, that's not my thing, or I'm not menopause or perimenopause, constipation is still a very real thing because it is regulated by hormones. And girls as young as 9 starting menstrual cycles have trouble with constipation because the gut flora is so thrown off with what we're seeing more and more of called estrogen dominance. And that also manifests as PCOS, endometriosis, so many other conditions. And I'll tell you briefly, I've had pretty much every female hormone problem you can name. I'm 55 and I went through menopause, which just means you haven't had periods for a year, about the age of 50, so about 5 years now. But I did have a hysterectomy probably about 15 years ago, but they only took my uterus and left me with one ovary. The reason they took my uterus is because back then I didn't understand all the things I understand now about hormones. So taking out the uterus or going through, quote, menopause does not fix the hormone imbalances or the hormone depletion that we experience. And so I'm just telling you that I've had all these hormone issues. Number one, that I can understand. But number two, because I had stomach pain my whole life. And I thought it was normal. I mean, ever since I was little, first starting menstrual cycles, it was just nothing to sit there and hold my belly. I mean, that was just kind of the state of the union. I mean, it was just always bloated and uncomfortable. I don't think I ever buttoned the top button of my jeans pretty much my whole life. And, not even really having weight problems or anything. It's just the bloat. And you feel like you're 9 months pregnant. Sherry said, you're telling my story. Wow. And the same in the hysterectomy. Yeah. It's funny when my patients come in for the first time, they are so overwhelmed and they're so scared and there's so much going on. And I'm sitting there thinking, your story is every woman's story that walks through that door. But I don't want them to feel small. Used to sit in meetings with a heating pad. Yeah, it's a thing. I did too. I don't want them to feel small, like their problems aren't important because they are. But I'm thinking, this is what I do. This is what I fix. This is what I help with. And so I totally understand. And this is just the whole cascade of things that can so be fixed by getting the right hormone balance. And if you're as young as 9 and just need some bioidentical progesterone, or you're 60 and you need all of the ovarian hormones because you're an ovarian failure, then it's just nuts that we aren't offered that, or we're told that's going to cause cancer. And it's just very, very disheartening. So that's why I'm here. And I just want you guys to know that most of these issues are hormone imbalances. So if I go back and I look, I had estrogen dominance, I had progesterone deficiency, and I'll draw a little picture here in just a minute just to explain that. But because I had too much estrogen and not enough progesterone, not only was I having uterine swelling and inflammation and bloat, but on top of that, my gut was not properly functioning. And so constipation was real. And so, like when I talk to women and I know they're having especially estrogen dominant symptoms, first thing I tell them is magnesium. So, if you take nothing away from this talk tonight, magnesium is so deficient in our food supply, and it is a small bowel, it's a smooth muscle relaxer, and the bowels have smooth muscle in them, meaning skeletal muscles, this stuff. Smooth muscle is what lines your blood vessels and your gut. And so magnesium relaxes all that. And in fact, when I used to deliver babies back in my OB rotations, if the pregnant women had high blood pressure, we would put them on magnesium because blood pressure medications were dangerous for the baby. So it is very, very powerful if you have blood pressure issues, but mostly if you have constipation or slow bowels. And a lot of people are using the GLP-1s now for weight loss, the semaglutide, things like that. I tell all my semaglutide patients, you have to take magnesium because if your gut slows down too much, that is a real problem. And I'll tell you, constipation is a signal that something is wrong in your gut. My mom actually died of constipation. I know that sounds like a really crazy thing. Take mag glycinate 360 and divided doses. Yeah. So I'll come back to the what types of magnesium because everybody always wants to know that. I need to do a video just on that because it's confusing. But my mom had gone to the hospital and she had anemia, and so they put her on iron, and then wasn't followed when she got back to the assisted living. And because she had dementia, nobody knew that she hadn't had a bowel movement and she didn't know what was wrong. And so anyway, by the time she got to the hospital, her bowel had ruptured. So constipation is not just something that we joke about. It's very, very serious. And it is a signal to your whole gut. And so if you're dealing with constipation, those toxins are sitting around longer, which makes your whole body toxic. And also, if the nutrients are not getting absorbed because everything's just packed in there, then that's a problem too. So super important. So, okay, what types of magnesium? Magnesium glycinate is really good for bones. So especially when you're menopausal. Oh, yeah. So this is interesting. Constipation, or you're talking about headaches? Constipation causes headaches. This is a funny story. I promise. UTIs and constipation are killers. Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, so let me finish the magnesium. So magnesium glycinate is really good for uh, bones and heart and muscle contraction, like blood vessels, right? But magnesium oxide, if you're having constipation issues, magnesium oxide and magnesium citrate are probably the best forms because they have the most GI side effects, which is really what you're going for, right? So if you're going to have diarrhea from something, if you have constipation, those are the things to go for. Yeah, constipation. So it's interesting because when I was a little girl and I would tell my dad that, I mean, like, I don't remember how old I was, that I had a headache. He'd say, "You're just constipated." He was really smart and he just knew things. And I think, "You're crazy. How can a headache be constipation?" But yeah, it absolutely can be. And I actually treat migraines with about 1,000 milligrams of magnesium and about 25 milligrams of B6. We used to have a formula and they stopped making it. So I probably need to formulate one someday. I love supplement formulations, but if you are a migraine person, a lot of that can be from backed up bowels. So if you have GI issues or stomach issues, it is so multifactorial with like what people have. And I have actually had people that have had migraine headaches that we work on their gut health and we check food sensitivities and we increase their fiber. and they actually stop having migraines. So that can be really, really important and something that you absolutely have to look at. Okay. Did I get all those questions answered? I think I did. So this is very, very interesting. And it's something that makes me really scared about our medical society community. Like there's lots of things that really just I call it clown world, but it is so common after menopause to have a condition called AFib, which is where your heart beats too fast, or you have palpitations, or you have irregular heartbeats. And you're not going to believe this. I always tell people, go look this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up, right? And I have so many people that say, oh my gosh, AFib is so, I've had that. Yeah. AFib is so common after menopause, you know, but they don't make the connection. So here's what the connection is. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about the bacteria in your gut. And nobody ever wants to talk about bacteria in your gut. It's gross, right? But there are trillions of bacteria in your gut, and they are so important, and we minimize this so much. But here's the deal. The purpose of the bacteria is literally to eat our food, and the only food they like to eat is fiber. So if you're not eating fiber or enough fiber, or you're not eating vegetables, they starve to death, and they have a very important purpose. And their purpose is to eat your vegetables, your food, and to literally poop out the nutrients, the magnesium. Now you're seeing where the magnesium deficiency comes from, right? And to poop out these nutrients so that our gut cells can absorb it, because our gut really doesn't know what to do with food that's not digested. So they are there to digest our food. Okay. So when they do that, they actually make some byproducts of branch chain amino acids called butyrate, acetate, and propionate. And I don't know. Oh, okay. I was just looking at comments. Sorry. And so butyrate is one of those short chain amino acids, basically, that bind to something called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is in your thorax, and it goes to your stomach, and it's part of your what we call sympathetic parasympathetic nerve system. And so then the nerve impulses come down the parasympathetic and then go back up the sympathetic. And it's really what triggers your fight, flight, and relaxation. It also is what regulates um, the sexual functions like orgasms and things like that. You have to have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The gut, you have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The heart, the sympathetic and parasympathetic. So one slows down and one speeds up. So butyrate is what is needed to actually trigger the vagus nerve to speed up or slow down. If the gut bacteria are not producing the butyrate, then the heart is going to be irregular. And if it's irregular for too long, you're going to go into something called AFib. And AFib is where the heart just kind of does this. It's not really beating in any particular rhythm. So why is that a problem? Because if it's going like this and it's not pumping the blood can accumulate in the chambers of the heart and then can congeal. And if it congeals, then those things that are like little clumps congealed like jello can then go into the smaller arteries and can cause a stroke, or into the different arteries coming in and out of the heart and cause a heart attack. So it's crazy, because how do we treat AFib? Well, we put people on blood thinners, and we put them on medications to slow their heart down. They get really tired. They can't hardly get out of bed. I mean, the beta blockers. I'm not telling you to stop any medications, please, please, please. I'm just giving you the whole picture of how menopause is like what we're dealing with. Parasites. Yeah, we can actually talk about parasites tonight, beta blockers. So I'll get to that in just a minute. I love to talk about parasites. I don't love to talk about parasites, but it's fascinating. And so, yeah, so instead of, and thyroid is related to AFib too. So instead of treating people with getting their gut flora back on track and getting them on BHRT and talking to them about eating more fiber and probiotics and restoring their gut health, it's just so much easier. And think about the agenda if you can just, put people in surgery and they can put electrodes in the heart to, defibrillators and all the things and all the medications. But beta blockers actually work by slowing down the heart. And it's interesting too, because since I'm kind of on that track, most high blood pressure is not a heart problem. It's usually a liver problem. I know, that's crazy. So why is it a liver problem? Because there are inflammatory things that are made when your liver's not working properly that can actually trigger the cells in the blood vessels to constrict. So that's a whole nother pathway we can talk about another night. But it's just so fascinating to me that blood pressure can be treated with something called TMG, which is basically trimethylglycine. It's basically a supplement, but it helps your liver methylate and decrease toxins and help the blood vessels work better. And then if you treat a woman with BHRT, then she's going to have healthier arteries. And there's just so much to that. Instead of saying your blood pressure is elevated, why don't we just put you on blood pressure medicine? There's a reason, there's an underlying cause. And I call them commercial doctors because they just tend to push pharmaceuticals, right? And so I'm a medical doctor as well, but I am just curious. I'm a question asker. I always want to know why. Why is this? And I always say a headache is not an aspirin deficiency. And so I'm like, if you have a headache, maybe it's constipation, maybe it's MSG or something you ate that's triggering, some constriction of the arteries in the head. And just if we're talking about headaches, one of the of headaches that I see is estrogen dominance, because if estrogen converts into the metabolites of estrogen, that can be a little more problematic, then you can have some constriction in the blood vessels too. So that is another reason why women really need progesterone with the estrogen in the right balance, because if estrogen is unopposed, meaning you just give estrogen and not progesterone, then the metabolites breaking down, you can have trouble with estrogen being the wrong kind. So nothing's completely without risk, but the risk when it comes to bioidentical hormones is that if you don't use progesterone and you don't balance it out and you're not doing it according to people's own chemistry, like checking labs, soy, I'll talk about this sec, and not doing it right, then there are some risks. So will this be recorded and viewable? Yeah, absolutely. I try to post them every day. I think I'm behind a little bit on posting them, but I do. And they'll always have on the tab, it'll say live replay. So yeah, I'll make sure to get this announced since you mentioned that especially. And so soy. It's very fascinating because we've been told for years that soy is dangerous and it causes breast cancer. It's just another one of those myths out there. Soy is what we call a phytoestrogen. It acts like estrogen in the body. Lipedema, my estrogen 3 times normal range. Yep. And too much estrogen too, without the progesterone to balance it out, can cause gallstones and all of the GI things, right? Gallbladder issues. So the balance is really, really important, but we used to think that soy was dangerous and caused breast cancer, just like we thought hormones were dangerous and caused breast cancer. It's clown world. That's not true. If it's done right and it's done with the organic hormones. But soy actually is a nice source of fiber. So if we're going to feed the gut bacteria, that's what they like to eat the most. And if you've heard of probiotics, you might not have heard of prebiotics. So prebiotics are basically TMG natural. So I get that second. So prebiotics are basically condensed forms of fiber. So if you like Metagenics is a good company that's prebiotics. And basically what you're doing is you feed the gut before you eat, and then you take probiotics after so you can restore the natural bacteria. Um, okay, so I just forgot what that question was. It just went by. Send me that question again. I was just going to get to that. But so fiber is super, super important. There used to be a diet called the Fiber 35 diet. And I tried it because I like to try, like if I'm telling people a diet or something like that, I've tried just about everything. Because I always want to know if I'm going to tell somebody to do it, how hard it is, right? Because I'm like, I don't want to tell you to do this, so it's going to be impossible. So when I started counting fiber grams, it was almost impossible to get enough fiber. Oh, TMG, found naturally in foods. Yes, because it's actually a metabolite, but if you are not consuming a lot of vegetables, it's really hard to get that molecule. So there's a couple of companies that have TMG. There's a guy I follow, I think Brecca is his name, and he's always all about TMG and liver health and cardiovascular stuff. So just fascinating stuff to me. So yeah, look that up, TMG, if you have blood pressure issues for sure. And, it's funny because celery, actually, Brecca, I think it's Brecca. Celery has a lot of the same things that can break down into TMG. So we used to tell patients to eat celery if they have blood pressure issues and magnesium, right? So super important. Okay, so, and I would say that magnesium glycinate would be better for blood pressure or for migraines, but the oxides and the citrate would be better for constipation issues. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about estrogen. And what happens is literally after menopause, I have to do this picture. I love to do this because it's so powerful, and I really want people to understand this. So I do this a lot. I know I can't do it enough though, because I know a lot of you come in and out, and I know you guys are busy and got to get the kids to bed and stuff. So if we draw a graph of birth to 100 and we put hormones, I'm just going to put an H there for hormones, and then on this axis, and then menopause usually happens around 50. What happens is that hormones kind of start increasing around, oh, that's not going to work. Let's see. Hormones start increasing about birth, and then we have our hormone levels that do this, and then maybe we have babies, and then maybe we have problems with endometriosis or PCOS, and then our hormones drop off around perimenopause. They get crazy and then really start dropping off. And then after our ovaries retire, we flatline, and we have to live the rest of our lives with basically no ovarian hormones. And I will tell you, I just did my blood work 2 days ago. I like to do it every once in a while, just kind of check in. And when I did my blood work, I can track my hormones. But I'll tell you, I have gone times when I just wanted to see what my body was without hormones. And I've just confirmed that we have no estrogen, progesterone, maybe more testosterone, because women actually make more testosterone than estrogen, believe it or not. And people are always like, no, that's not true. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You have to kind of remember that men definitely make more testosterone, but apples to apples, women actually make more testosterone. So very rarely do I have a woman after menopause who doesn't have at least a little bit of testosterone. Testosterone is great for muscles, for brain. I mean, it has so many functions. That's just, testosterone is super, super important in men and women. So I will say that once we don't have estrogen and progesterone anymore, our gut health is really compromised. And one of the reasons for that is estrogen regulates the gut microbiome. So if you can see where I'm going with that, by definition here, your gut is going to be disrupted. You don't have the bacteria that are going to make the butyrate to help the sympathetic parasympathetic system. And estrogen regulates serotonin in the gut. And most of your serotonin, we think of it as a brain hormone, but the gut is called the second brain. And most of our serotonin is actually made in the intestinal walls. And our immune system, 80% of our immune system is in the gut, because when we eat, we have to be able to pull out the bad bacteria off stuff so we don't get sick, and E. coli and Shigella and all the bad stuff. And our immune system has to be ready to deal with that. And our immune system is also triggered, our white blood cells. All of our immune system has estrogen receptors on them. If you don't have any estrogen, and I'm telling you, after menopause and ovarian failure, which is what's happening because our ovaries don't function anymore, you cannot regulate your immune system. And people think, well, your immune system's just fighting colds, right? Or viruses. No, your immune system is responsible for preventing cancer. So I was in college and I remember I took Biology 101 and my professor said, look around the room. He said, everyone in this room has cancer. And everybody's like, what? What are you talking about? You're crazy. And he said, you do. He said, it's how your immune system deals with it. Because cancer is just cells that multiply and go crazy. Your immune system makes cells that are called senescent cells that actually eat up the cells that have gone renegade, and they just keep multiplying and doubling until they're a tumor, and then they really go crazy, and then they're a cancer. So if estrogen is on your receptors in your immune system, you are a sitting duck for cancer. And it's not about estrogen causes cancer. It is completely the opposite. I'm telling you, it's clown world. Don't take my word for it. I'm starting to preach. Elaine will be like, preach it, sister, in a minute. Because I'm like, I know I do this. But it is just the opposite of what you're being told. You're being misled, and it has to stop. The narrative has to stop because it is just the opposite. Estrogen actually protects you. Sin says, wow, repeat that. Estrogen is necessary. Estrogen prevents cancer, not just because of the breast receptors and the immune system in the breast, but estrogen actually, there's receptors on your immune cells, your white blood cells, your immune system that actually repairs cancer cells, senescent cells. It's actually part of the process. And if you don't have estrogen, actually, I say estrogens because there's different types of estrogen, which is the beauty about bioidentical estrogen, because we don't use the metabolites, the synthetic or the metabolites of the organics that are more problematic. We use just the good estrogens. And those receptors on those white blood cells are fed by estrogen. So it's like you are going to get cancer out here. So out here where you have no estrogen, this is where people get cancer. This is not. Now, I know there are some young women and it's terrible, and there's all sorts of genetics and stuff that play into this. But for the most part, the girls aren't the ones getting cancer. It's out here where we have no estrogen. Okay, I'll stop preaching that. Don't forget, progesterone balances estrogen out. So estrogen all by itself can be a problem for sure. Thoughts on L-glutamine and NAC? Oh, okay, good. I love glutamine. Let's talk about that. So I'm going to draw another picture. And we're going to talk about the gut, okay? And so glutamine and NAC are fascinating, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of biology here about the way the gut works. So we are going to draw, this is a person's mouth here and eyes. So this is not drawn to scale. You guys are probably going to have fun with this. This is what we call the esophagus, okay? So the esophagus is your swallowing tube. Okay. And the esophagus then goes into the stomach. So this is the stomach. And the stomach then goes into what we call, this is so not to scale, but I want to do this big because I want to have enough room to draw. And this is the small intestine. Okay, and then we have the liver and gallbladder, but I'm going to leave that out for just a minute. Okay, and the cells that line the small intestine, it's fascinating to me because they're one cell layer thick. So if I'm actually going to put the cells here, we're going to do it like that. And this is good because it's easily repaired but it's also bad because disrupting the cellular layer in the small intestines is pretty easy to do. And so we're kind of a setup for problems. So we have to keep the biome healthy, meaning the gut bacteria. We have to keep the cells healthy, and the things we do, the toxins we eat, the chemicals that are on our food, all the things can disrupt this. Okay. So in this gut, as we eat food, so I'm going to put the bacteria in here. Ooh, I want to put the bacteria. Um, I got my colors mixed up on my thing. So I'm going to put the bacteria as red in here. So these are bacteria. So remember, their job is to eat your food, or we call that prebiotics, the fiber and things, and then to poop out the nutrients. And then the nutrients then are what go into the cellular layer, because only nutrients can, right? And then down here, it goes into the bloodstream. So we're going to make that red because this is going to be the bloodstream here, and then the nutrients get absorbed. So what happens is if the gut layer gets disrupted, now literally a Dorito that you're eating can get through this barrier and into the bloodstream. Not a whole Dorito, of course, but the chemicals in the Dorito or whatever it is. And so when that happens, your immune system or I keep wanting to use that blue marker. Your immune system attacks that Dorito because it's not supposed to be there. And so now you have this whole trigger of your white blood cells that are your inflammation fighting cells. And if they get confused and things are going too crazy and they're having to literally fight Doritos and your bacteria is off and the bad bacteria are winning over the good bacteria, now we're in a situation where something called autoimmune happens. Auto means self, immune means your immune system. And almost all autoimmune happens in the gut. So that's rheumatoid arthritis, that's Sjogren's, that's lupus, that's brain. There's like these sclerosis, encephalopathies, there's psoriasis, there's PCOS even has a component of autoimmune. Diabetes actually has a component of autoimmune. So every single autoimmune condition can be healed by healing the gut. But what do? We put them on expensive, high-powered immune suppressants, and pharma makes a lot of money, and you don't get better, and then you shut your immune system down, and then you can get sick and then get cancer, because we know those biologics and everything can cause cancer, right? So you're there because you're trying to take care of your rheumatoid arthritis, and then the next thing you know, you have cancer. So heal the gut. Why don't you just do it the right way? Why don't you just do it like, it's like a headache's not an aspirin deficiency. Autoimmune is not a biologics deficiency, right? So, if you like what I'm saying and this is cool, or even if you think I'm crazy, you gotta go look it up later. If you would tap the screen and just show me some love, because those hearts really help the algorithm to bring more people in to hear this message. So if you would do that, or there's like a little light thing, but there's some hearts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love it. So it really helps me get the word out there. And if you would do the share button and just let people know that I'm talking about some crazy stuff that could help them. And I always say, don't take my word for this stuff. I love you guys so much. And I really do this because I want you to have the truth and I want you to share the truth. So thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the shares. Love you. Love you. It says, love it all. I believe everything you're saying. And you guys are my tribe. I know I have regulars and you're awesome. You really just feed my soul. Patients in my office every day that I see the lives transformed, and I'm not patting myself on the back. I truly believe that I'm a messenger of the truth, and my goal, if you guys haven't heard this before, is before I leave this carbon existence, because we all have expiration dates, right, is that 50% of women will be on bioidentical hormones and restoring their estrogen and progesterone balance for all these reasons. I think your name is a crown and lip, so I love it. But yes, I love it. So that would be my goal, and that everyone understands that. So I can't wait. Yay. So And the reason I say that, why I say 50% is because that stupid study that was done in 2002 that's absolutely ridiculous and it's killed a lot of people because of the lies is before 2002, almost 60% of women were on HRT, even if it was synthetic, 60% of women were. In 2003, in less than a year after that study came out, it dropped down to half. 30% were on some form of HRT. And 20 years later, in 2024, less than 5% are on any form of HRT. And women are dying and they're getting cancer, and it is causing gut issues and autoimmune issues. And it is so huge. And I say that gut issues, if you're bloating or your stomach hurts, or constipation, I call all these things the canary in the coal mine. That is telling you that on a cellular level, your hormones are so important for every single process. What can we do every day to heal the gut? Okay, I'm going to talk about that too. Okay. So I started talking about this because somebody mentioned glutamine and NAC. So we're going to talk about that and how to heal the gut. Okay, so you've probably heard the term leaky gut. And so really what this is this is a disruption in the gut lining. And so now leaky just means that Doritos can leak through the gut into the bloodstream. And so when this happens, you can get an autoimmune problem triggered because your immune system is trying to fight and it's trying to do its thing. And now we have bacteria like spilling out all over the place and all sorts of problems. So we want to heal this. Here's another fascinating thing before I talk about healing this. This is nuts. I mean, this is crazy to me. But there are some molecules in here that hold these cells together. And this is called zonulin. I love that name. I don't know why I love that. It just sounds so cool. It sounds so Star Trek-y. But zonulin is a protein that can actually trigger autoimmune thyroid because zonulin is a molecule that is almost the same structure as an enzyme that converts your thyroid's inactive form to its active form. And so if this zonulin gets released through these proteins in here, that's what can trigger. So this is interesting because if I eat a lot of gluten, so you can do food sensitivity test and you can identify foods that are triggering this immune process. If I eat a lot of gluten for too long, my thyroid, because I don't want to claim it anymore, but I've had Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and it will trigger my autoimmune thyroid, and my TSH will go through the roof. And I just did blood work the other day and my TSH was like a 3. So I've been kind of misbehaving a little bit, and that I like to check that every once in a while, just to kind of see where I'm at with that. But yeah, so I got some zonulin going too. And you know what? This is so important that you guys, low thyroid, yep, all in the gut. So this is so that you guys understand this, because you really want to work with someone who understands all the pieces and just doesn't throw you on an estrogen patch, because all of this is critical. Or people who do functional medicine, who could do food sensitivity testing and identify food bring this immune system in the gut, and who understand the connection between things like gluten or things that are triggering your immune system. And we'll talk some night on food sensitivities because that is fascinating too. We do those all the time in our office. And I think I have them on our Shop Hormone Bliss site. It's just Shop Hormone Bliss. I know I have genetic testing on there, but I don't know if I have the foods on there, but I'll have to go and add that. And we do it in our office. But so we want to heal this. So someone asked me earlier about, should I go off birth control? I'm 45. Okay, come back with the birth control and probiotics. And yes, I am a doctor. I'm a medical doctor, but I had to get outside the box to learn all about hormones and female stuff, right? Because they don't teach you this stuff in med school. And if you really want to heal the problem and you don't want to end up on what we call polypharmacy, a drug for a side effect of another drug, and that madness, you do have to get outside the box a little bit. Mad respect. I love that. Yes. And I love it when I see other medical doctors who are talking about this stuff, because we have a shortage of that. And I love that these platforms, the social media, is a place where we can have a voice. And I have to be careful because sometimes the ones that are listening, like I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I've actually got my lives clipped before. So I have to be a little careful. And I still haven't learned that are, triggers and stuff that are going to get me like in trouble. So I have to be careful what I say. But okay, back to the gut. So somebody asked me about glutamine and NAC. And so glutamine is great because it acts like spackling. No hormones. Actually, if I'm not getting to your questions, I want to finish this about glutamine and NAC, so I answer that. So please loop your questions back around, and I'll try to get to everybody. And if I don't, you can direct message me, or you can go to our link in bio, Hormone Bliss, and go to the site, and then there's a contact me, and you can go through the email. So info@Hormone Bliss, and you can find me there. Okay, so glutamine acts like spackling. So if you've ever had a hole in your wall and you've ever had a hole in your wall in the drywall and you spackle it, glutamine acts like that. And we have a detox powder that's on our Shop Hormone Bliss site, and it has a lot of glutamine in it. And I remember one day I was washing my dishes. It's like, this stuff is so hard to wash out of this cup. And I was like, oh, that's the glutamine. And so I'm like, that's to glue my gut back together. So I think that's fascinating. When we use those terms as Latin words, glutamine is like glue, right? So glutamine is great to do that. Glutamine is also very good for, if you work out and you take like 2 grams of glutamine, that muscle soreness will be gone in like 10 minutes. It is crazy. It works so well. So if you're going to start a workout plan or something, you're like, I don't do it because glutamine is wonderful for that. Okay. So yeah, so you can spackle the gut, and so you can seal over these deficits here, and then you don't have leaky gut anymore. So I always tell people, if you do your food sensitivities, then you decrease the inflammation, do your glutamine, your healing stuff. And NAC is actually more of an antioxidant, and that can help the inflammation as well. NAC is actually something that we used to use for Tylenol poisoning, to reverse Tylenol toxins, the poisons through the liver. So NAC is really, really good for liver stuff. So liver health is super important, because the liver is, and in medicine, we always draw everything backwards because it's the patient facing you. But the liver and the gallbladder are super important. And that's a little beyond the scope tonight, because I want to get to really kind of run into the end of the hour. So I really want to talk about stuff to how to heal the look into food sensitivities, look into the things like glutamine and probiotics. These are, if you go to Shop Hormone Bliss, these are fruits and greens, and they're delicious. And it has probiotics in it. And I don't know, you guys can tell me in the comments if you've ever had trouble, but I have had trouble with probiotics for a long time. I can't take just any kind. And they've done studies to show that the bacteria, the probiotics, are different in people who are overweight and who are thin, because your flora is thrown off. It's really hard to it affects your thyroid and your metabolism. And so it also affects your serotonin, because your gut microbiome are affecting your serotonin, which affects your mood. Because like Prozac, you've heard of Prozac. Prozac can actually keep more of your serotonin around. That's called a reuptake inhibitor. Yeah, probiotics. I'm super sensitive to probiotics. So I like this. And then I also, if you go to my homepage on TikTok, I have people send me samples, and then I try them, and then it's on their TikTok shop. So you can go look, and there's a video on there. So I don't have it. It's a good probiotic, and it didn't bother me. So it's pretty good. And then prebiotics. There's a company named Metagenics, and we use them. So if you ever want me to put a list of stuff together for you, or you want to message me, I use a company called Full Scripts, and I can put a little protocol together for you. So you can let me know that. But our program, Hormone Bliss, is amazing, and it's my passion project. And so I can take hormones to the world, but especially the US. So what we do is you order a hormone kit and it comes to your house and it's super easy and you don't have to beg a doctor to check your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. That's just stupid that they won't. But you spit in this tube and then you put it back in here and there's a baler and then you just fill out this whole questionnaire and then you put it in here with the label and send it in. And the questionnaire has, oh, I'm so glad you ordered yours. Yay. That makes my heart happy. The 50% of the world I want to get on hormones and to know the truth. But the symptoms, like you think it's just 25 symptoms of my advent of days till Christmas and 25 symptoms of menopause, but there's like 80 on here. So, I mean, everything from ADD to blood pressure to chemical sensitivities. I mean, all the things, right? So, and then the next step after we do that is we include one of our hormone consult or hormone experts to get on the phone with you and go over your lab work. And then you get on bioidentical hormone creams. I'm so excited because I want every woman on this. This is the holy grail. This is I'm so passionate about this. And I just got a new chemist too. So I'm so excited that we can go volume now. I mean, before, where do you put the cream? Basically inner arms, thighs. And the thing about this is you bypass the liver with something called first pass metabolism. So it increases your safety profile so much. Yeah, my moderator says 2 days, maybe even faster than that. I mean, it is just not fast. People feel good and healing the gut and ADHD too. Okay, this is funny. Not funny, not funny, right? Because I get that all the time when I start reading the symptoms on here. People are like, I had no idea. Like I say frozen shoulder, and they're like, I had no idea that that's ovarian failure. Menopause is just a year without periods. That's a stupid term. Ovarian failure is what happens after your ovaries retire when you're not bleeding anymore. So, okay, foggy thinking, heart palpitations. We talked about heart palpitations in the gut, aches and pains, allergies, sugar cravings, hair loss, tender breasts, anxious, weight gain, high cholesterol, constipation, hoarseness, memory problems, bone loss, fibromyalgia, chemical sensitivities, high triglycerides, water retention, bloating, decreased stamina, decreased libido, breaking, numbness in your feet or hands, neuropathy, OCD, vaginal dryness, mood changes, fatigue. Okay, that's like I'm over. Mimi Forever says all of the above. Yeah. Without hormones, we are all of the above. That's where I drew that picture a while ago. Literally all of the above. Yes, I understand. I do understand because I'm a menopausal female, and without my stuff, I'm insane. Just my moderator is my fiance too. So he blocks off all the crazies on there, protects me. But trust me, he knows if I don't take my hormones, it's quite scary. Okay, so gut stuff. So I want to go a few more things. And I know some people ask some questions and I don't remember I'm all over the place. So put your questions back through and I'm going to try to get to those. I might even see if they'll let me go over. They usually kick me off at the hour because I put in an hour for the talk. Okay, so progesterone has an anti-inflammatory hormone, lotion effective if you're on blood thinners. I would always say to talk to your doctor if you're on something serious like blood thinners or something without knowing the components of that, why you're on blood thinners. That's definitely something that you want to let your doctor know. Now, I found you. Thank you for being here and saying that. But to me, if you had AFib and you're on blood thinners or risk of clots and things like that, I think that it's so important that you protect yourself with hormones, especially with bioidentical hormones. Your doctor is probably not going to understand factor V laden. That's something you want to talk to your doctor about just because I would want them to know. And, the commercial doctors are getting better now. I even have breast cancer doctors who are okay, are starting to understand ovarian failure and what we're dealing with and the risk factors we have from that. So my heart wants to say, yes, the creams are absolutely safe and would protect you. But and they don't know anything about hormones because they're not taught that in med school, right? I had to like get outside the box. I didn't learn any of this in med school. I promise you, none of the stuff that I practice every day did I get any of that in med school. It was just like pharmacology, pharmacology, pharmacology. That's all. And residency was even worse. So, okay. So, progesterone, anti-inflammatory. We've got the microbiome balance, the serotonin. We talked about that. Estrogen dominance can be a problem. We talked about that. Sluggish liver. So I always drink my liver tea at night. My tea, love it, love it. Yeah, I agree with you, Jennifer. Just males can't understand the female having periods and babies. They just never been in our body. And I had to learn about this stuff, get outside the box because I had all these female problems. So like if I hadn't, I'd probably be just like them, right? But it is hard for them to understand. Or they're trying to control for 30 years. I'm not into synthetic hormones. So I'm not going to tell you to go off your birth control because I always tell women, if you go off your birth control, I don't be responsible for raising your baby. And women can have babies into their 50s. So, oh yeah, you ordered the test kit. I love it, love it. I'm actually an osteopath. I'm a DO. So yeah, same training as MDs. I actually did an MD residency program. I do think osteopaths are a little bit more well-rounded, but I don't know. They're still like big pharma gets hold of all of us, but I do think I'm a little more non-traditional being a DO. So, okay, digestive enzymes. Okay, you guys, what can we do? So digestive enzymes are amazing. Eat protein and carbohydrates and fat. So digestive enzymes can be really helpful to break down. The lipase breaks down fat, break down protein. So there are some really good digestive enzymes. So if you're bloated, I love digestive enzymes. I want to say real quick before I run out of time too, I told you earlier that my whole adult life, before I knew all this stuff, like my stomach just hurt all the time. It was just normal. Every time I ate, I was just like, and even when I didn't eat, my stomach just hurt all the time. And so when I learned about a genetic thing called MTHFR, it sounds like a bad word, I know, but it's not. It's a methylation problem through the liver, and I have 2 copies of both of the bad kinds. And so I've had methylation issues my whole life that manifest in a lot of different ways. But also inflammation is related to methylation. And as soon as I got on methylfolate, after I learned all that, I was in the airport one day and the person I was with said, "Do you realize that you are not bent over holding yours?" Because it was just like this. I was always like this. And he was like, "Do you realize that you haven't like complained once about your stomach?" And usually airports are bad because the pressure on the airplane, like in between flights kind of expand your stomach, eating crap food. I was like, oh my gosh. So fast couple years later, no more stomach pain. Fast forward a couple years later, I had run out of my methylfolate, which folate just a B vitamin and methylated B vitamin. And my stomach had started hurting again. And I was like thinking, what's different? You kind of, yes, Deplin is a methylfolate. It's an expensive one though. So unless your insurance pays, and it usually doesn't. So our site, Shop Hormone Bliss, we have methylfolate there too. So if you want a good one, there's a couple companies, Metagenics, Nutridyne, there are good companies, but so anyway, yeah. So I was like, what's different? And I stopped my methylfolate because I just run out. And so I was like, that's what's different. So my stomach almost hurts, knock on wood, unless I get sick or something like that, or unless I just eat too much sugar or something, after Thanksgiving or something. But just that natural all the time, just low grade belly hurt, no more. Okay, and chloric acid. Now this is nuts. I'm going to do this real quick because I'm fascinated by this. And so estrogen changes will actually, MTHFR, it's very common. I have a whole story about that sometime. You need hydrochloric acid to break down your food so that the bacteria can eat it. And what happens is the changes that we have when we lose our estrogen is that we stop producing HCl. And you need hydrochloric acid to close the sphincter, this little muscle that keeps your acid from going up into the esophagus, because that's when it hurts. It's what we call heartburn. So what does clown world medicine do? They put you on a PPI or Nexium or Prilosec or something like that, and you can't close the sphincter. So you are addicted to that forever. And those actually cause cancer. I mean, you look it up. I mean, there's so many, like, it's scary. It's terrifying. And I actually have a girl who used to work for me who went to her GI doctor. They missed a gallstone that had blocked her bile duct on a CT scan. I probably should have a copy of it and looked at it myself, but I just trusted that they knew what they were doing. And then she ended up having an emergency because the bile duct ruptured. But before that happened, her GI doctor actually just said, oh, just stay on it. And right there on the bottle, it says don't take for more than 6 weeks. And he's like, oh, it's fine, because she was just hurting. And I don't know, it's clown world. So anyway, you can actually take betaine hydrochloric acid. And I have a whole gut healing protocol if you ever want that. It's a little bit tricky to do because once people are on Nexium and Prilosec and stuff and they're addicted to it, you have to do a weaning process, and it's very tricky. Almost as hard as somebody coming off cocaine or something, but it can be done and should be done. Okay, we talked about fiber. Zinc is very good for gut inflammation. We talked about magnesium, aloe vera liquid. Yeah, Prilosec, that's what I was talking about. Vitamin D helps with your immune system, so that's important. Peppermint oil, soothing. Ginger can be very soothing. And so I think I got all those covered as far as supplements. So that's it. Any questions we've got just a couple minutes. Were there any questions that I didn't get answered? Otherwise, I'm going to tell you about the kit. The kit is $119 right now this month. This is a lab test kit that we ship to your house, and our hormone experts go over it with you. That's all included when you do the kit. We give you all the results, tell you what it means and what we can do about it. And I'm good. I'm glad you think that's good. And like if you went and had if you could get a doctor to check your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, I mean, it could be like $400 or $500. I mean, it's just nuts how they mark stuff up. And normally we charge $299. So, the Christmas special is $119. So I don't know. I keep wanting to think maybe we'll make it $119 all the time because I really want people to do this. But my team for even suggesting that, but because they're pricey kits. But and then the time that the coaches or the hormone experts get on with you and tell you about my protocols. How do we schedule time with you for gut healing protocol? I am in Arkansas, so I personally can, if you want to see me directly, you have to come to Arkansas if you don't live in Arkansas. But I have tons of videos, and if you work with our team, we're all over the United States, and they have access to me all the time. So that is part of what our hormone experts do, is help you with those. It's very individualized. It's not just like we one size fits all throw stuff at you, but they work with you with gut health. They work for you for improving your immune system, and they are genius. Sometimes I think they sound like me. I mean, there's one I was listening to today, and I'm like, you are mini me. I mean, she was just like, it's amazing. I'm like, y'all actually listen to me. This is nuts. So where's the test kit? The link is in bio, but it's also Hormone Bliss. I love that. Hormonebliss.com. And Shop Hormone Bliss is where all the supplements and everything are. And you can order test kits on there as well. Are they trained? They absolutely are trained by me. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we actually have a hormone. If you ever want to be a hormone coach or a hormone expert, we have a hormone training program. So I am always like trying to find people to do that as well. So it's a whole online digital course, and it's everything I've learned for almost 25 years now. So when people ask me about where to find doctors in other states, I don't even recommend people that I know, like, in surrounding states with me, even if I know them, because I don't know that you're gonna get what you're looking for, and I want you to come back and blame me. So people ask me, like, they have a sister in, New York or wherever, so, but that's why I created this passion project of being able to do the testing so you can get it at home and that you can get your bioidentical hormones and any other testing, food sensitivities, genetics, whatever you need, thyroid testing, whatever it is that you need, we do all of that. So you do not have to come see me in Arkansas or work with directly. If you want to, you can. I'd love that. But background, do you need to be in the training program? A passion for hormones, because we have a certification project. So if you just love health and wellness and you really want to be a nerdy scientist like me and help women and really listen, the the biggest thing, okay, I'll send you a link to the course. The biggest thing to me is just have a passion for it, and you really understand what ovarian failure is, and you want the same passion as getting into women after menopause and hormone failure, to help women and to get the word. And it's so nice to, once you go through the program and get on hormones and understand where you're at, when my experts have done the program and they're on their creams. It's amazing. So, gosh, I didn't know so many people wanted to be hormone coaches and experts. I love it. Okay, you're really putting a light fire under me to get that course available because it's done. It's just I haven't made it available yet. So that's exciting. That motivated me. If you will DM me, I'll send you information on that. Or again, if you want to email me at info@hormonebliss.com, or also, oh my gosh, there's so many of you. Yay! We have so many hormone coaches out there. I love it. Or also Dr. Tammy at Bliss is, no, I'm sorry. I don't have that email yet, but Dr. Tammy at drtammytucker.com. That's fun. How much is the course? We haven't started selling it yet, so I don't even know. I just made it, and it's like all my years and years and years of knowledge, but that's what our coaches go through. So yeah, I'd love to make that available. And you guys could be hormone coaches, or maybe we hire you as our hormone coaches too. So yeah. Coming into, I love it. Yeah. 2025, baby, is like only like 3 weeks away. So I love it. I love to tell my patients, I'll see you next year, when we do follow-ups. But okay, they're telling me my time is up. I love you all so, so much. And thanks for hanging out with me, and hope you learned a lot. Please share this. And somebody asked me, are the live replays going to be up? And I will work on, it takes like almost 15 minutes to load. So I promise I will do that before I go to bed tonight and get that up for you guys tomorrow if you want to share that with someone. So, all right, y'all have a wonderful night. God bless you too, Elaine. Love you all. Merry, Merry Christmas. And I'm here every night at 7 o'clock. So come back and see me tomorrow, because I talk about all sorts of stuff. I don't remember what the talk is tomorrow night, but I promise it'll be good. And if you look, I usually post a video hours before and kind of tell you what the next subject is. So Jennifer, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Connie. All right, Mimi, it's a date. Tomorrow.